Ah, mic's not on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to actually be able to make any more videos for like the rest of the month, mostly because all these videos are really digging into my monthly like internet allowance. Welcome to China kind of a thing. Um, anyways, making this video because I got a really good question in the comments section concerning what do you do as a prop paladin against certain bosses, especially while you're leveling that have aggro resets. And specifically, we're thinking about second to last boss in Strat Undead. We're thinking about General Dracasath, but that's like a UBRS. That's a 10-man raid. Final boss in UBRS. I did not know he has an aggro reset. I've only done him like a couple of times. But this is enough of an interest to actually talk about it. So, what I like to do is you'll notice that at that level, like when you're level 60 and you're doing, lower Blackrock Spire or Blackrock Depths and stuff like that, you pretty much have your talent trees kind of filled out. And what I mean by that is you're looking something like what I got going on here, right? And you'll notice that you actually have your you're already full healing spec basically, like you're in your raid healing spec kind of a deal, which is what I got going on here, right? I've got the Blessing of Sanctuary, I got the one-handed specialization because I wanted to test it out, but I'm not missing any real talents in the healing tree. And this is actually the tank build. This is the prot build for classic World of Warcraft. Um, this is an important thing to note is that this is actually a protection build paladin in World of Warcraft. The only thing that you're possibly missing is like a 3 out of 3 improved Righteous Fury, which you can very easily put some of your shield specialization skills and maybe a point from toughness into improved Righteous Fury. It's actually not that big of a deal, or strip out like your 3 points from weapon specialization and get it in there. It's not the worst thing in the world, but the healing paladin raid spec and the prot paladin raid spec are virtually identical, and that's an important thing to take note of, especially while you're leveling. Uh, and what I like to do for the aggro reset bosses is usually you'll be tanking, so you'll have Righteous Fury on, right? Which is basically it says increase the threat generated by your holy attacks by 60%. What this spell does not tell you is this also includes your healing threat. So, if you have, I do weird things in like General Dracasath and so forth and so on. I also do this in like Blackwing Lair, not Blackwing Lair, Molten Core, where even though I'm a healer in Molten Core, I will be wearing a shield, preferably my Malastars, just because it has so much armor on it. And I will actually just have Righteous Fury on me as a healer in full healing gear in Molten Core. Why am I doing this? It's because that if the tanks lose aggro, especially early on, all right, this is supposed to be for hardcore because otherwise we don't care, right? If the tanks lose aggro early on, in Nax gear, they're going to go after the DPS. But early on in World of Warcraft, they don't come after the DPS when the tank loses aggro. They come after the healers when the DPS loses aggro. And they're going to come after you specifically because your ass has Righteous Fury on and your healing spells are generating 60% more threat, and that would be greatly increased if you had the 3 out of 3 specialization. This is not a big deal because you got Bop, you got Bubble. It'll take the ad or the mob or whatever the boss a million times to get a million years to get over to you. Plenty of time for anybody else to do anything that they want. When it finally does get over to you, it's not like you don't have 50% damage reduction because you actually have armor. There's a lot of times in Molten Core where there'll be like a +1 ad that comes in, and I'll just tank it. I will actually step in there and tank it for a good 5 seconds while people are figuring out what the hell is going on. And this is in like full healing gear, meaning I'm wearing mostly cloth with just a shield for armor, and you can actually do that pretty easily. So, for the aggro reset bosses, my advice is you're going to have Righteous Fury on either way. And my primary advice is that if and when you use aggro, you just go straight into being a second healer. A lot of the fights in classic World of Warcraft where you actually end up losing aggro, like there's actually an aggro reset. Like they punt you back, and your aggro gets reset to 0. And since you don't have a tot, you're kind of screwed. You just immediately go into healing, and whoever at that point has aggro just becomes the tank. So, for example, rogues make really good tanks because they can pop evasion. Not the biggest issue in the world. A warrior who is like a DPS warrior becomes an excellent tank with 2 healers. A druid, let's say you had a druid healer and then you were going to be a tank and like Strat Undead. If you lose aggro, the bear form and he becomes the tank. You just become the healer. Super easy because you're basically wearing the exact same gear. Under these circumstances, what generally happens is you can keep your tank, like, if it's a rogue tanking, and for some reason he doesn't have evasion, he's getting he actually just creamed, like he is taking all kinds of damage, you're going to be able to keep him up, no problem, and what you'll find is that you're having to heal so much. I've seen mages tank Butcher doing this, I'm not joking. Butcher just keeps smacking the mage, and the mage at first runs around like with a chicken with his head cut off because, you know, he's like, oh my god, this thing. Then he realizes he has 2 healers, and he just stands his ground and just starts attacking the boss. And what ends up happening is you'll end up pulling aggro just because you're doing so much healing threat with Righteous Fury, especially if you have like 3 out of 3 Righteous Fury, and you still have Exorcism and stuff that you're pelting the boss with. So eventually the boss will aggro reset the new tank and he'll come after you again. Or you'll just end up doing so much threat to him from the healing that he'll come after you again. It's honestly not a problem. And if you're forming the group and a person has a question like, you know, how are we going to deal with the Butcher due to the aggro reset, blah, 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 basically just explain it. And just be like, yeah, we'll have the warrior tank, we'll have the druid tank, I'll be a healer when the aggro reset happens. It's the same gear, it's the same talents, it's not a big deal. Or the rogue can just evasion tank and we'll just double heal him, not a big deal. When his evasion runs out, we'll just, you know, heal him. By that time, you'll have aggro back anyways. So yeah, so that basically answers that. So there's some other weird things to talk about. Right, so it's super important to realize what your tanking skills look like in Classic World of Warcraft. If you're actually coming all the way down here and picking up a Holy Shield, you're doing it wrong. I'm going to tell you that right now. Holy Shield is absolute hot garbage. You think it would be amazing, but it isn't. You are far better off just sticking with a Holy Reckoning build, meaning that these 3 talent points right here are basically spare talent points. You can put them wherever you want to. And the reason for this is because you can double up as a healer. Sometimes you'll get into really sticky situations in the fight, like you'll pull extra mobs and stuff. And at that point, your healer is overtaxed. And the next thing you know, you're having to go concentration aura and heal yourself. Because you're in a fight where the 2 of you need 2 healers. And one of the awesome things about the Holy Reckoning spec, the one that doesn't use the Holy Shield as prot, is you can actually both tank and be a healer at the same time. It's not ideal, but it actually works if things go really, really, really badly. So anyways, this is actually what your prot talents look like, and this is also what your healing raid spec looks like. This is just one of the best builds in the entire game. I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. Other things that I have confirmed recently. So remember I said that I would go respec and actually test to see what the hell one-handed weapon specialization is doing for us. And I did, in fact, confirm that one-handed weapon specialization is, in fact, increasing my SO. It's increasing my white damage by 6% right now. It's increasing my SOR damage by 6% right now. It does not increase consecration damage at all, which is sad, but it is what it is. It also increases my judgment damage by 6%. That one's a little harder to test, but Drakova told me it does, so I'll believe him with that. I mean, so yeah, that was kind of cool. Definitely have to look into that. There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about that I can't remember. I think it was just how healing with Righteous Fury causes aggro, and that is a super, super good thing that you really should be using. The only other thing to really talk about is bubble aggro mechanics. If you wanna be serious about it, it's really hard for me to show it here. I would need a friend to show it. But this isn't really PvE stuff. This is more PvP stuff. So how bubble aggro mechanics work is, let's say I have an absolute ton of aggro on this mob, okay? Right, so I got lots of aggro. And then I bubble. If somebody else was right next to me, he would turn and start attacking that guy. He'll attack the next highest threat guy. But the moment the bubble ends, like if bubble ends, what the... Thank you, lag. See, that's one of the reasons I don't play hardcore. Jesus. The moment the bubble ends... I'm just going to kill this guy. He's actually bothering me. What the... Wrong seal. The moment the bubble ends, the mobs will not continue to attack you. They'll attack whatever the hell else is the second highest thing on their aggro threat table. However, if you do anything to put a single point of aggro on that boss, you will suddenly shoot... you'll have all your aggro back on him. So, for example, if I had 1,000 points of aggro on this boss, and then my friend had 500 points of aggro on the boss, and I bubbled, and the bubble wore off, and I didn't put a single point of aggro on that boss, the mob would be attacking my friend. Easy, with his 500 aggro compared to my 1,000 aggro. It doesn't automatically reset to you. But if I put a single point of aggro on that boss, the boss will start attacking me as if I have 1,001 aggro. That is actually how that works. That's not... That is only super important on aggro reset stuff if you have a good idea or you have an add-on that's going to tell you when Dickhead is going to do the aggro reset. So, for example, I don't use add-ons, but there are add-ons that exist that'll tell you that General Drakasath is about to do his aggro reset in, like, the next 10 seconds. Okay? Well, after 5 seconds or so, you might as well just bubble, and you bubble to avoid the aggro reset, basically. Like, you're tanking, you bubble to avoid the aggro reset. Next thing you know, somebody else has aggro. He's the one who gets hit by the aggro reset. You come out of your bubble, you hit the boss, you have aggro again. Okay, you follow me on this? That is a thing that you can actually do, but that's like add-on, try-hard stuff that I can't be bothered to deal with. How I use Divine Shield's aggro reset is I use it to kill Horde. I will go out into Silithus. I will gank people in Silithus while dragging mobs behind me. I'll have like 2 or 3 mobs on me. And I'll fight them even though the mobs are on me. I'll consecrate all over the place. So I have all kinds of aggro on the mobs. I'll be fighting like an elemental shaman or something. He'll put down like, grounding totem, or I'll be fighting a mage. He'll like frost nova totem or whatever the hell. Not frost nova totem, but like frost nova. And I'll realize this and I'll just bubble, heal myself to full. I'll watch all the mobs start attacking the horde player. And then when I come out of bubble, I just don't put any more aggro on the mobs. And then, basically, the mobs become my pets that are now attacking the horde player. And this is particularly terrifying in Silithus, because all the mobs in Silithus slow you like a motherfucker, or they daze you like a motherfucker if you give them their back because they have thrash. Or they have these nets that they can shoot out like 50 yards if you've been in combat with them for like 10 seconds. So at that point for the Horde, mage or not mage, no matter what class it is, there's almost no escape. They're kind of dead. And I have taught the Horde in Silithus to be very, very wary of this over the years. But that's how I use it. It can be used in fights if you have the add-on and you know what the hell you're doing. You just bubble the aggro reset. You can't do anything about the second aggro reset. The second aggro reset, you just got to become a healer +1. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here. Nothing really else to say. Did I want to talk about anything else? Did I miss anything else? I talked a little bit about trinkets. There's not a lot going on with your trinkets in PvE. Most of the trinket stuff is like PvE stuff. Mark of the Chosen is one of the best trinkets in the... Oh, shit, we should talk about that. Mark of the Chosen is one of the best trinkets in the entire game. You should get it if you can. Uther's Strength, if you can pick it up off the auction house, is an absolutely amazing trinket to the point where I even use it in Battlegrounds to this day. This trinket is actually insane. It particularly shits all over warriors. Warriors hate this fucking trinket. I think the shield that pops up is like a 500, 600 damage absorb, and if you know anything about PvP against warriors and their rage generation, basically you rage starve them out. I'll make a video at the turn of the month about this because I really need to save my internet. But yeah. So 16-man bag, major recombobulate array. Trying to think, are there any trinkets worth a damn to actually talk about? I don't think there are. Yeah. Also, I don't know about BOP and its Aggro Reset mechanics for the things that'll also do the Aggro Reset mechanics. You can tinker with that. I almost always use Bubble, and it's almost... and then I become a backup healer, and it's never a problem. So, whatever. I will tell you that... damn it. Fudge. What am I thinking about? Oh, I wanted to talk about that real quick. So I'll talk about that. And they're linked. There's a potion in the game called Magic Resist Potion. It's like for 3 minutes you gain 50 resistance to all schools of magic. There are certain bosses in the game where that, even though it doesn't stack with your aura, but there are certain bosses in the game, at least I don't think it stacks with your aura. There are certain bosses in the game where using that Magic Resist Potion, because it lasts for 3 minutes, is actually a really, 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 really stupidly holy fucking shit good idea. Bosses that come to mind are the final boss in Strat Undead and even Strat Live. They do a lot of shadow damage. But primarily the potion is used if I want to use a different aura besides the resist aura, right? Particularly in the fight. So, for example, Dracasath, you'll usually want fire resist aura. But if I'm like, nah, I really want armor aura, but I also want to keep my fire resist really high, use the resistance potion. This is particularly how it is with Baron Rivendare, like the final boss in Strat Undead. Is I really both want shadow resist against him, and I want to keep my armor up high. And I possibly, armor mostly for my allies, but also possibly I want concentration aura on my healer in the back, or even for myself if I need to do an emergency heal. One awesome thing about being a Paladin tank is that at any point in time, if the healer is being overwhelmed, you can just heal your own fucking self. And that is a thing that that makes you an amazing tank, especially in dungeons and in lower levels, which is one of the reasons why Holy Shield is hot garbage. Holy Shield is just, it's not that it's not amazing for what it does. It's just that it's consuming so much mana from your mana bar, and it's not giving you enough back to warrant taking it. You're far better off just taking the extra damage and saving the mana for healing. I'll give you an example of how bad this is, right? So by the time you're level 60, your healing spells, you may or may not, you'll probably have Blessing of Sanctuary on you, not Blessing of Light, but your healing spells are still, they're still going to be doing about 2 to 1 healing ratio, right? Which means that even this rank 1, which, yeah, it'll give me block chance, and my block chance, it'll save me, like, from taking maybe 150 damage from the block when I activate it, and I'll do more damage to the target, which is negligible. We don't really care about that, but it costs me 150 mana. I could use that 150 mana to heal myself for 300 HP, and I don't have to spend the talent points to get down here. Like, what the hell are we doing? And then you go look at the Holy Tree, like the kind of talents you get in the Holy Tree by comparison. It's literally coming at the expense of Divine Favor, which is an amazing emergency heal. And it's just like, what the hell are we doing? Like very quickly, you're like, no, don't take Holy Shield for prot. Go take your damn holy talents. All right, so the last thing to talk about, and I can't really showcase this right now because I don't have any friends on, unfortunately. but I do have the mage for it, is the importance of fire resist early on in hardcore raiding and hardcore dungeons and so forth and so on. You are going to want, and I guess I can showcase it right here. It's a really good showcase. So you're going to want the double fire resist on almost all your gear. Where is it? Come on. No. There we go. All right. What the? Game, please spare me. So you can see I have 20 fire resist on my head, and I've got 20 fire resist on my legs. You get this in Black Rock Depths. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get, but it's not the worst thing in the world for you to get the enchants. Yeah. You want the 40 fire resist. The only other options that you have other than the 40 fire resist are basically to get plus 100 HP. And then, of course, there's like the whole ZG enchants, which are special for Paladin. They look like this, right? Plus 7 defense, stamina, and then 24 to healing, right? But in truth, early on in hardcore specifically, you want the double fire resist. Why do you want the double fire resist? Well, it's because of everything that we talked about with the whole fire resist thing. That once you start getting above certain levels of fire resist pushes off completely from the from the damage template, 0% resist and 100% resist, which means every time that you get hit by a fire spell, it's going to be 25% resist, 50% resist, or 75% resist. The shit that you will die to in Blackwing Lair, and the shit that you will die to in Molten Core, especially Molten Core with the ads, will be fire damage. I would not trust anybody in a hardcore raid who took anything except double fire resist in like Molten Core. Like, so if you're going into Molten Core and hardcore, my advice from my years of experience is everybody in that fucking raid, every single buddy, doesn't matter what your job is, should have double fire resist enchants on their gear, just because of how fire resist works in game. You're going to be playing Alliance, which means you're going to have Paladins in your raid, and because you have Paladins in your raid, you have fire resistance aura. So, which means very easy for everyone and their dog to get 100 fire resist. 100 fire resist would be it's 5% per 20, so that means it would be, well, it's half of that, obviously. Everyone has 25% fire resist chance. 100 fire resist is enough fire resist to push off the 100% and to push off the 0%. And it's absolutely amazing. I also wouldn't trust anyone doing Molten Core or Blackwing Lair without the Priest fire resistance buff from lower or upper Blackrock Spire. There's a trick that people do where they mind control a certain mob in UBRS/LBRS, and then everyone gets this massive fire resist buff that will stack with everything, and then you go do Molten Core, then you go do Blackwing Lair. It's like a safety thing, but you combine that with any amounts of fire resist, particularly from Paladins or from these enchants, and holy fuck, does it make it so safe to do certain bosses. It makes it so safe to do Fire Maw. It makes it so safe to do Alexstrasza. I think even the first boss in Blackwing Lair does a lot of fire damage. It makes it so, it trivializes so many things early on in the raiding scene while your gear is shit to have your fire resist basically stacked into oblivion. There's a bunch of other little things that you can get for fire resist. So, for example, my Cape of Trinity has all resistances. It should be like plus 15 fire resist. One second, let me pause the video and pull it up. Yeah, looking at it here. Where is it? Greater fire resist. That's phase 5. Yeah, so in hardcore classic WoW, they're not coming out with phases like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or anything like that. They're coming out like, so everything's available to you. And you'll notice that you have some interesting options on your cloak. And one of those options is plus 15 fire resistance on your cloak, right? Super powerful. All right, so now everybody in the raid has, what is that, like 115 fire resist. You can get fire resist from all kinds of other little things that are going on in your gear. fire resist, fire resist, fire resist, and you can specialize in it, of course, based upon what boss you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with a boss where fire resist isn't going to do anything for you, and you'd rather have the extra stamina, then you just swap over to the stamina gear. But I cannot describe to you how many lives just stacking fire resist in classic WoW hardcore is going to save early on, especially while you guys have shitty gear. Yeah, you will check your, I shit you not, you will check your combat log when shit goes south for you, and you will realize that if you did not have fire resist, you would be fucking dead right now. Okay, we clear about that? Alright, so don't mess around with the fire resist. Get your damn fire resist enchants out of Blackrock Depths. Get your fire resist chant for Encloak. Wear your damn fire resist aura. Even this Onyxia, the trinket that you get, the neck piece that you get for Onyxia, is actually a really good fire resist trinket. I'm not joking. It's so good, in fact, that with all these damn fire mages running around, I even use the damn thing. That's one of the main reasons it's actually in my inventory right now. Other aspects of fire resist that I can think about. Let me think. There's some really good cloaks. There's fireproof cape, I think, in Blackrock or Molten Core. If I go here and I switch to level, are we level 60? No, we are not. Okay, cool, level 60. Click here, it's like fire. Fireblade cloak, what the, lol. Where's my fireproof cloak at? Yeah, Major Executus, Domo, whatever, pretty good stats. This is a really good healing cape early on, believe it or not. So just keep that in mind. You're definitely going to want to stack fire resist. You're going to want to stack fire resist. You're going to want to stack fire resist. Did I mention you're going to want to stack fire resist? And then don't trust anybody. Don't trust that fucking rogue in Molten Core who's like, I took DPS. It's like, what? Okay, here's why that's bad. It's like you inspect a rogue and he's got like DPS enchantments on his head and he's got DPS enchantments on his leg as opposed to the 20 fire resist on head and legs. Let me talk about why that's terrible for Alliance. I might be perfectly fine for Horde, but for Alliance, what the fuck are you doing? It has to do with the fact that your damn Paladins can spam rank 1 Flash of Light into Oblivion. Okay, so basically your raid, the healers in your raid as Alliance can maintain something stupid like 70% of their effective healing at all times. Now, it varies with how many Paladins are in your raid, right? But basically what ends up happening is, yeah, because they're even the non-Paladins are taking advantage of the fact that Paladins can span rank 1 into Oblivion and get two-thirds of their healing. Because they use it for spirit regeneration ticks, and they hold themselves in reserve for the big spot welding heals, while the Paladins are just the constant, never-ending healing flow. What this means is that as an Alliance raid, we're not in a DPS race against the boss, even on Fire Maw, for example, to kill the boss as quickly as possible before the healers and all that stuff. That is not what is happening right now. And you'd also note that if you have fire resist on everybody in your raid for the bosses who are DPS checks, like Alex Straza, I think, and also Fire Maw, it's also not that big of an issue because, you know, those are DPS checks because of all the AoE fire damage that's coming out all over the place. What am I trying to say here is, we're not in a DPS race with Paladins in the raid because the Paladins can just keep they can keep the raid healed indefinitely. So you need to take enchants and gear against the things that can kill you really, really quickly, if that makes any sense. And fire resist, just make sure everybody has fire resist. What the fuck are you doing? Take your damn fire resist enchants. Do not trust that rogue who is in Molten Core or Blackwing Lair with gear on that he doesn't have fire resistant chance. Make him show you that he can switch over to gear that has fire resistant chance on it. If he can't do it, damn, dude, you're putting not only his life is not only at risk, but everybody else's life is at risk at that point. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so I'm gonna end the video here, and Deus Vult, boys.